And the topic that we would like to talk about next is
travel.
We want to talk about travel because it's one of our favorite topics.
Yeah, and because it's coming up for both of us
next week.
for both of us next week. And so specifically, what we want to talk about is the importance of planning. Both of us have travel plans for next week, and they're vastly different. I am going with his husband in the middle of the Mojave Desert for a week, and we're going to be out in the middle of nowhere with nothing around us.
I am not going on that trip.
If we don't plan properly, we are out of luck. If you forget something, you're not going to, take a 20-minute ride to the grocery store to go get it. You're stuck. So planning becomes very important. But even before that, as we've been getting closer and closer to the kickoff date for this, it's become really apparent to me that if we hadn't planned well enough in advance, at the last minute we would start throwing money at problems.
Yep.
And so for an extraordinary trip, you really need to plan far enough in advance so that you have the time to shop, make thoughtful decisions. You're not just reacting and throwing money at the problem. You have a different.
I have a different approach, and I'm very lucky because my mom is coming up to stay to hang out with my kid and my critters. So that solves the problem with planning right there. For me, I'm flying to Destin, Florida to teach cash flow planning, to teach financial advisors what it is that we do, our method of doing it. And what I've learned over the years of doing this is that I have to have a system because when I travel to do these events, my timeline is so tight that if I forget something, having to make a stop-off point at a grocery store or a drugstore or anything like that can just completely throw me off. I need to get to my hotel. I need to start prepping. A lot of times I add material to the presentation, so I want to make sure that I'm practicing, the night before. So I'm very, very type A about that kind of planning. I just want to make sure that I take everything. The other aspect of this type of planning too, though, comes into the experience that I had 2 weeks ago with the San Francisco. So San Francisco airport. It's usually the airport that we fly out of. There's 3 major airports within a half-hour radius of us, 45-minute radius of us all that we can fly out of. Unfortunately, San Francisco is the biggest airport, has the most opportunities, but it is also the most prone to issues with delays and cancellations. And just in the last couple of weeks, they've taken down a runway to do repairs to it, which is great. We like that, like safety. But flights are getting canceled left and right. And I have, because I'm going to a small town in Florida, I only have a finite chance of getting there. Yeah. And so when I started seeing all these headlines about all these cancellations going out of San Francisco, I contacted Kevin. I said, I think we need to eat my ticket and get me on a plane out of San Jose. Yeah. And it's funny because I wanted to sleep on it, which is normally what I like to do. I don't like making decisions like that in the evening. But I started to get actually pretty worried that everybody was going to be seeing those headlines and having those same thoughts. And I was worried.
And the other airports would get swamped.
Yeah, exactly. So that was one time. That was one of my rules. I also have a rule that I do not answer emails until I've had 2 full cups of coffee. Because every time I do, I get bit. But that's a rule that I broke that night because we made that decision, and I'm glad I did. Although they announced this morning that they're getting the repairs are getting done.
But it's contingency because the alternative is you probably would not have missed the engagement because you could have done heroics. If the flight had gotten canceled, you could have flown into another airport and you could have rented a car and driven all through the night
6 hours
and done heroics and got there. But the stress.
You looked at it.
The stress involved and the shape that you would be in to give the presentation, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the cost. And I think that's another thing that you always have to keep in mind when you're doing airline travel, especially for business, is what is the cost risk swap there? All right. Like one of the things that I've often considered is that going through with checked luggage or even carry-on luggage is becoming such a pain if you don't have clear ticket. I guess you just got that, didn't you?
TSA pre-check.
TSA pre-check. If you don't have that, it can be very cumbersome going through the onboard check-in process. And at some point, it does become more advantageous to say, you know what? I'm not going to take toiletries. I'm not going to take all that stuff. I'll just buy stuff there and either use it or, or get rid of it. At some point, you make that calculation. Now, I've made that calculation, and for me, it's still worth it to carry my stuff with me. But I looked at it, and I think that that's something that you need to look at. I do know people who, before the TSA PreCheck came along, business travelers, their whole thing was, I don't travel with any toiletries. I go to the hotel, I pay outrageous prices for the stuff at the hotel, I use it, what's left over, I leave there, and I fly back without it.
Were they all men?
No.
I'm really surprised by that.
Because not makeup, toiletries. Okay, so
but still, like hairsprays and things like that, you get very particular about.
But the whole reason is just before the PreCheck came along, it was such a pain to bag everything up and have them go through it all and do all that stuff. I have to package everything. Company's paying for my travel. I don't need to worry about it. I'll just go ahead and do it. But they did the calculation. So that's something that I think that you need to look at when you're traveling. I said earlier, you don't want to wait till the last minute because you don't want to throw money at a problem. When you do encounter a problem, it is worth it to look to see how much money it will cost to fix it. And decide if you're willing to spend that money to alleviate the problem. And if you're not, great. You've made that decision informed.
And that's the epitome of savvy living. It's not about frugality. It's just about being mindful and weighing every purchase or spending opportunity and decision, which is challenging because of the volume of expenditures that we have in a given day, in a given week, in a given month, or a year.
Now, like I said, for me, it's definitely worth it to go ahead and put stuff in the plastic baggie and pull it out to go through the check and do that. I'm not gonna throw things like that away. But environmental. There's a lot of things to consider. All right, but again, it's really making those choices, and then again, keeping in mind that you have to plan ahead to get the most for your dollar. Another great example for the camping experience that Melissa's husband and I are going on next week. Figuring out where do you want to buy food, where do you want to buy, what do you want to do with water, fuel, ice, things like that. We're actually going to a fairly large event.
Give it a shout out.
I'm bringing. I'm bringing 150 gallons of water with us. Okay, or I should say, I'm bringing the capability for us to have 150 gallons of water on site. I have three 55-gallon drums. Do I fill them here and truck them full loads of water, 300 miles, or do I find a place down there to fill empty barrels?
Is that what you do?
We're filling the empty barrels.
Down there. Okay.
Because it's just the effect on your gas mileage is horrendous. 150 gallons of water was a lot.
So where do you do that? Where do you find that gas?
The water. We found a number of places. You look for RV campgrounds.
Okay.
All right. And some service stations that are more that cater more fully to travelers that have like showers and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
A lot of them will also have hookups.
Okay.
Right? But make sure you bring a hose. All right. But if you don't know that, you could be out of luck again, out in the middle of nowhere. If you know where you're going, you can stop 50 miles outside of the destination and go somewhere to a grocery store, buy ice. That'll be a lot cheaper than buying the ice at a service station 10 miles away where they charge an arm and a leg. So taking the time to do the research on where you want to go, where you're going to be, where supplies are. And this is across the board. I mean, it's even as simple as, where do I want to fill up for gas? Gas prices vary all over the place. We went to Tahoe not too long ago. So Tahoe's an incredibly popular, well-established place. Everybody knows, fill up with gas before you get into the mountains, because once you get up in the mountains, they charge you more.
Yeah.
All right. And in Tahoe proper, even though it's a major city, they charge more for gas than a lot of other places. Understanding that can save you a lot of money.
It is. There's an element that happens when you travel where you're swiping your card and you get that fatigue. So there's an element of this as well that helps with, or I was just talking with a client yesterday, we were talking about how around the holidays, you just hit a point where you're tired of spending money.
Yep.
And you can get to that point during your holiday. You don't want to get to that point during your holiday because that's supposed to be a time for you to relax.
Yes.
And so the more that you can plan in advance, the better. The more money you can save, the more time you can save, which I think is critical.
Yes.
I've talked about how every time we go to Tahoe, and if I don't plan right and I have to go to the grocery store or a drugstore and I'm standing in line, that's like, I feel like there's a failure sign over my head or a cloud just raining down on me because I'm on holiday. I don't want to be at a place that I go all the time. If I'm in a Safeway, it's the same experience as if I'm in the Safeway in Redwood City 3 blocks from here. It's not a holiday experience.
It's not a holiday experience. Yeah, exactly.
So we don't offer these things from the perspective of saving money and streamlining money. Although if you can do that, then you've got more money to spend while you're on your holiday.
That's a big point. Yeah. The other is just peace of mind and enjoying the experience.
Yeah. I will say though, it wasn't until I started traveling quite a bit that a lot of this stuff pieced together. So it's whatever, give yourself an opportunity when you hear yourself complain about something or getting caught, remember that and do what you can the next time to get on the other side. That's what I've always, in the last 15, 20 years of my life, if I'm frustrated by something, I try to give myself an opportunity. All right, that's what it is, but how can I fix that for the next time? Yeah. And then every experience just gets better and better until I'm standing in line at Safeway Tahoe.
Well, I think especially if you do any type of regular travel, really try to figure out what the routine is that makes life easy for you, because the whole point of routines are to make things habit for you so you can free your brain power up for other things. Yeah. And then if you just do things in a methodical way, it takes less brain power, and if you keep doing things the same way over and over, you have the opportunity to optimize them. If you're always doing things ad lib from scratch every time, it's all helter-skelter. It's really hard to improve. But if you're doing the same thing, you can start making small incremental improvements and make things better, make things more efficient, and potentially save more money.
I would also add, look to people that are doing those things, that maybe they do travel a lot, but they just seem to be doing it effortlessly. You know, because you've got your friends that they go on vacation and they come back and they're all frazzled, and it's like they could talk about how they need a vacation from their vacation. You don't want tips from them. You want tips from the people that go on a European vacation and they've had a good time and they come back and they're just relaxed and they want to show you all of their pictures. They're probably the ones that you might want to ask some questions about. How did they make it a little bit easier? Yeah. When I started doing a lot more business travel, I would ask my friend Geraldine just tons of questions, because she travels almost every other week for work. Yeah. Just quick trips, but she's got her system and she's got a routine. And that way, when she's, at the airport at 6 o'clock in the morning, and she knows, it's even simply to the point of like parking her car in the same spot, so that she's, I almost lost my car once at San Francisco airport, and it was my fault, but it wasn't my fault. But it's just those experiences. A bit of an aside from the saving money, but yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's making the experience at least tolerable, if not pleasurable. And a lot of business travel is not pleasurable. A lot of it's not fun. You have to do it. But you can at least make it tolerable and make it so that you, again, aren't wasting time. Because, that may not be a money issue, because you'll find your car eventually. But now, you spent an extra 20 minutes trying to find your car. That makes you under the gun to go do something else. And so now you're going to stop at the fast food place rather than go eat at the healthy restaurant you're going to go eat, or whatever else is going to happen, or instead of stopping somewhere to buy something at a favorite department store, you're going to buy it at the hotel because you lost time, you don't want to go out again. So it's all those things. They do have a profound effect on the expenses and on the enjoyment and toleration of the experience.
So one thing I want to say about business travel, especially for those of you that do business travel, I had an experience about 5 years ago now, I think. I did a series of talks in Wichita, Kansas, which is one of my favorite cities in the U.S. And I think it was the second of 5 events that I did. And I had got to know the person that was managing all the events. Phenomenal person. We're still friends on Facebook. We connect all the time. But I remember I got done, and my MO had always been, I go to a city, I practice my presentation, because we do a lot of different presentations, and so it's not all pat, right? And we're constantly revising stuff. So I would go practice my stuff, I would do my event, I would get on a plane the next day and go home. So we got done with that second event, we wrapped up, and it was cold. I think it was February, so there was snow on the ground. And this woman, Christina, my friend Christina now, she said, well, have you seen the Big Indian? what is the Big Indian? What are you talking about? She's like, you haven't seen the Big Indian?
Mm.
And she throws me in her car. I hardly know this woman at that point. She throws me in her car and she drives like a mad woman to this place, this park in Wichita. And it has this sculpture. It's like 3 or 4 stories tall. And it is it's the Keeper of the Plains, I think is what it's called. And it was a moment for me of, I worked too hard. And I'm just looking at this thing and I'm thinking, the thing I love about Christina, one of the things I love staying connected with her is because she is a woman that goes and sees things and she does things. And I was a woman that traveled to places and never saw anything. And so it's just that idea. I wasn't living a savvy life because I was working really hard and I wasn't taking advantage of where I was going. Yeah. And so ever since that experience, I always try to make sure that I carve out a little bit of time to have that fun, to find that balance, which is why I went to the Garden of the Gods when I was in Colorado Springs. Yeah. I haven't figured out what I'm doing in Destin, Florida next week, but it's at a luxury spa. They were nice enough to have this event at this luxury spa and they're covering my room. So I'm sure.
Yeah, when I did a lot more business travel for in my previous professional life, I always tried to. A lot of people, they want to get home as soon as they finish their assignment. All right, so if you're at a conference and you have to and you speak at 1:00, 2:00, you're booking to the airport so you can get home. I appreciate that, but I always try to figure out, okay, is there a way that I can stay for an extra 3, 4, hours, whatever, so I can see the same thing. I can see a little bit of where I'm at, so that I'm not just going from an office to a tube flying through the air, landing, going into another office, getting back into a rectangle, then another tube, and then flying back across, and not even being aware of where I'm at. Yeah. Taking the opportunity. If you're traveling on business, if they're sending you someplace and you have to give up your time to go do this, get something in return. Yeah. Get a little bit of culture exposure or something. Yeah, or go have a fabulous meal and local food. That's how I found, oh my God, cheese grits. In Georgia, Decatur, Georgia, at Sweet Melissa's Cafe on the corner of the courthouse. I can see the meal right now. Been in love with cheese grits ever since. Yeah. So there you go. All right. To wrap up, I will say there are so many little wonderful, amazing places littered all over the United States. There's treasure over. There's treasure in your hometown right now. Yeah. Yeah. Take a chance to enjoy it, but what makes that possible is to do that planning ahead of time. Possible and more enjoyable. Yes. Yeah. Yep. All right. So with that, we will wrap up. We got a chance to talk about 2 of our favorite topics: savvy living and travel. We will not be here next weekend. Because we're going to be gone. We're both going to be gone. So we will be gone the 26th. So the 3rd, October 3rd, is our next time that we'll see you. So until then, if you would like more of this, The Savvy Life, you can check us out on our YouTube channel, The Savvy Life. So look up The Savvy Life, but also look up my last name, Tosetti, Tosetti, to find us there if you're watching us live right now. There are multiple Savvy Life handles out there. So we are not the 13-year-old girl. I'm talking about financial lifestyles. But yeah, if you're watching this and you enjoy the material, please like and subscribe. Pass it on to anybody that you think that would find the material helpful, interesting. Yep. You can also find us on. Well, you can find us at our website, thesavvylife.com, where we post articles and there's a ton of information there. And you can also subscribe to our email list there, and what that does is that will give you our latest articles plus 3 homework assignments to do every week that are concrete activities to help you lead a more purposeful, savvy life. And also on almost all the social medias, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Yep. All right, we're all there. Okay. Anyway, have a wonderful week, and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Thank you. Thanks a lot.